Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel, and we continue with our Sector Mechanicus modular terrain board. So I've already done a couple of pieces of this and also showed you the planning process in order to make it as modular and as rotatable and interconnectable as possible for games of Warhammer 40k and Kill Team. This video is going to take a look at the pictures of part 3 of this, so let's get straight into the video. So here we go then guys, this is a set of pictures. They're about 20 seconds per picture, so feel free to skip along and just view the pictures at your own leisure. But I've taken several from different angles. This again is a kit bash from various Sector Mechanicus kits, as well as the Prometheum relay pipes. This one starts with an orange tank at the bottom, and I've colour matched that with the orange smaller tank on the first floor. And then there's some inter-relay pipes that I've managed to sort of wiggle around, cut and shut and make them fit. You can see it's 3 stories if you include the ground floor, so ground first and second floor, or first, second and third if you're American, because I believe ground floor is the first floor in the US. But I don't want to go any higher than that. As much as I like the visual representation of really tall scenery pieces, if you go to places like Warhammer World, for example, they have really high structures within their special terrain boards. But there's a practical limit that I find within my games. If you go too high, then things start getting in the way. It's difficult to try and get a model's eye view in certain positions, and then you sort of bashing the terrain around, and it becomes just a bit more of an annoyance. And especially if you start putting infantry, deployed high up, you then got to spend all game trying to move them down and so on. So I want to keep it as practical as possible, and within it still looks good, but it has to have that practical element of it. That's why it's not overloaded on the ground floor, so that when these get pushed together you can still move bikes and other vehicles in and around the terrain feature. That practical element has featured quite heavily in a lot of my terrain videos. I know a lot of people that do terrain really like that crushed rock and all kinds of debris that you'd see on the first floor, on the ground floor and so on. But there's a realism when it comes to standing miniatures up on that, and for me, if you've got that wobbly model syndrome all the time and people have got, perhaps they've got old metal models that they're moving around on these terrain features that keep falling over, I really don't want them to get chipped. So there's that practical element really has to come sort of foremost in my mind when I'm making these features. But they still have to work as a terrain feature, so you still need to be able to move models around and through and up and down and so on. But you still want to be able to enjoy the visual representation of what these terrain features are, but you still need to be able to move some of these models, especially now that a lot of infantry has moved to 32mm bases and so on. There's that element that you really need to keep in the back of your mind. Can a squad fit up here? Can 10 men fit up here? Can a squad of 5 Terminators teleport into it? Or something along those lines. You just need to be able to keep it real, as Ali G would once say. The pipework here serves no real practical purpose as far as I can tell. All I've done is just find some sort of outlet vents and so on that are in the main piece of the terrain, and just cut and link the thermic pipes between the 2 elements, and then just sort of have some runoffs and so on. I've got a few pieces of this to burn, so it's just nice to add them in here and there. And I've just got a couple of close-ups just showing some of that section. There is a couple of millimetres out, and I'm not quite sure why that is, but just the nature of the beast. But you can't really tell when you look even at this kind of angle that there's a little bit that is just not quite flush. But it works for the visual representation of some interconnecting pipes and some runoff. Once again, I've got a bucket of barrels and ammo crates and stuff that I've just thrown on just to look a bit of battle debris. The reality is there'd be an awful lot more debris on these kind of things, especially in a war-torn battlefield. But it's just nice to sort of put that little bit of scatter terrain on there, use them up, because in the container sets that you get, which I've got quite a few of, you get an awful lot of those barrels and so on. And it's just nice to sort of say, well, the Mechanicum needs, sort of ammunition and sort of oils and lubricants for all its machinations across these terrain pieces. But there we go. So when you combine the two, I've got a couple of images of combining the previous ones that I've done with these, and you can see they link up quite nicely, really. So there's those sort of off-spurt ramp sections that link onto the next one, and I've got an example of just spinning that around, and just to show you the modularisation of these terrain pieces works on several different aspects. Now you can see that I've cut the wood slightly out here. That's about a millimetre or two gap. In regular gaming, that's not really going to make a difference. I did explain before that my DIY skills are not the best, and unless you really go for a laser cut or you get them professionally cut, unlike myself using a circular saw, there's going to be a few misses here and there. But from my perspective, it's not a biggie, especially when you put these on a gaming mat. That gap only really highlights because I'm shooting these photos in a light box. But when it's on a dark mat, you're never going to see that, and it's not really going to make a difference. So there we go, these are all the photos. So there we go then guys, that is part 3 of the Sector Mechanicus modular construction. I'd love to know in the comment section how your terrain is coming on. Are you revamping your terrain? Are you building new terrain for your games of Kill Team or regular 40k? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section below. But if you learned something new and you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I shall catch you guys on the next video.